that the direction is out for those folks. The lawsuit, is that dropped yet?
It's dropped.
It's dropped. The lawsuit's official, and that's in the Northern District of Florida. So stay tuned for that. And you know, we're gonna keep fighting, because I think it's very, very important. And I think that there's you know, certain things just happen. There can be natural disasters. There could be stuff. Sometimes financial there's all kind of things. And you got to deal with those, obviously. But there are certain things when you're creating, like the federal government is doing, you're creating this crisis. It's just wrong, and it's wrong that they're not providing us information. It's wrong that they're not following the law, and it's wrong that they're going to be imposing a lot of costs and a lot of burdens on state and local communities all throughout the United States. So this is another example of us fighting back. You know, we do have a case pending on the release of criminal aliens, because that's something that's very dangerous for our communities. We think we're going to have good success there. Obviously, the administration lost the case about the remain in Mexico, so I don't know that they're going to follow, because they do what they want, but they should follow that and reinstitute that policy. So we're proud to stand up today. We wish we didn't have to do it, but when we're called, we will. Okay, we could all take some questions.
Governor, every administration has dealt with ebbs and flows of people crossing the border illegally. What proof is there that we have crime going on here? And you mentioned RSW, people flying in there. What do you know about that?
Well, it was on video. Remember, they literally will give people cards saying, you know, like signs like, "Hey, I don't speak English, help me," all this stuff. And that's just what they're doing, just kind of throwing them in different communities. And I know there was, we've seen some show up at the hospital. This is not just an ebb and flow, though. This is absolutely created because of the change in policy. When our guys were over there in the southwest border, these folks would tell them, we would never have come prior to Biden. Like Biden telling us to come. And so you have people, I mean, that's why recently you see all those Haitians. How do you go from Haiti, which is in the Caribbean, all the way over to Del Rio, Texas? Now, part of that was a lot of those Haitians had already ended up getting residence in other countries, and they actually have IDs from places like Brazil, some of these other places, which obviously means you're not going to qualify for asylum. But just think about that. How do you have people from Africa, Asia, all these places, all of a sudden show up on the southern border? That's why it'd be one thing if this were just all Mexicans, then maybe you say ebb and flow. No, this is a magnet where they have basically engineered this to happen, and part of it was they just wanted to reverse Trump, but part of it, I think, this is absolutely intentional. Yes, sir.
Governor, you and 25 other Republican governors wrote a letter to the White House requesting a meeting. Have you heard back from the White House? And additionally, if you were to meet with the president, you have visited the southern border. It seems unclear if the president has ever been to the border at any point in his political career. What would you tell him about what you've seen?
So we have not gotten a response to our letter, which was just asking for a meeting so we could express our concerns. I don't know if he's ever been. I was asked, have you ever been in your whole career? And they said they don't know if he's ever been. But I can tell you that what's going on there is not consistent with a well-run country that maintains its own sovereignty. What's the purpose? I mean, you know, we have immigration laws for a reason, and to just throw them by the wayside for this is really unacceptable. You absolutely are seeing drugs coming across the border. Our guys were in one sector, you know, and they've made however many 9,000 stops. Granted, most of those were just illegal border crossers, so they would end up going to Border Patrol. Then Border Patrol would just release them. And so it's just like, yeah, our guys were kind of spinning their wheels. Made a lot of felony arrests, many of those connected with drug and human trafficking. We have problems in different parts of this state, particularly our rural areas, on the methamphetamine. You've seen methamphetamine increase. The Attorney General mentioned the fentanyl. How is that something that's positive for this country? And then just the amount, 200,000 in a month. That's a medium-sized American city every month that they're just bringing in illegally from all across the world. And yet, how is that something that is a good policy for this country? What kind of stresses is that going to impose on our local communities, on our education system, on our social services, healthcare? It obviously is going to impose some. And we've got a lot. I mean, we've got enough people coming down here from within the U.S. legally because if people want to come to Florida. And, our infrastructure, all this is like we're a growing state. It certainly doesn't help us in any way, shape, or form.
Governor DeSantis, what do you expect to happen immediately, if anything, from the lawsuit and the executive order?
So we will get assigned a district judge, and we will be in district court, at some point in the relatively near future. I think we've got a really strong case. We also are. Do they have the date for the appeal, the 11th Circuit for?
We're just arguing this week. So
This week
we'll
is
see.
the argument.
We just had it, yeah.
Okay, so we had the argument there, so we should hopefully get a decision on that, which is the criminal component. That was one of the things I did when I came in, is make sure that we're dealing with criminal aliens, because the criminal aliens get released. It's just like anybody. We have a certain class of criminal. People are in and out of the system. Unfortunately, we're working to change that here as well generally. But if someone comes illegally and they're convicted of a felony and they get released, there's a high probability they will reoffend. And so we've met with a lot of the angel parents who've lost loved ones as a result of crimes committed. And here's why those crimes, I think, are more in terms of the anguish that the families face, more than even the typical, because had the federal government just done its job, this would not have happened. They would not have been in their situation. So it's really, really a sad thing. So I think we're going to get positive results on this appeal. I think we're going to get positive results in this new suit on catch and release. We've already seen positive results in the Texas suit on the Remain in Mexico policy. So there's a lot of pushback to this. And the results, of course, have been very disastrous. It's interesting, though, this is not something, my sense is that the national corporate outlets, a lot of them don't want to talk about this because, quite frankly, they understand that this is something that's very problematic for the administration, so it doesn't fit their partisan narrative. But this is absolutely something that has been one of the biggest failures of the federal government in my lifetime, and it's a choice. They're choosing failure by embracing bad policies. Okay, we'll have more news for you hopefully pretty soon on these lawsuits. Thank you.